Hello and welcome back to Beyond Skyrim. 2023 was an incredible year in terms of progress for all of our teams, and this culminated in a 25-day long advent calendar showcasing the amazing work of all the provinces. To kick off our advent calendar, we explore the audio that makes up our world. In this spotlight, we took a listen to the various regions throughout Cyrodiil. From windbeds to insects, this spotlight took us on an audio adventure through the Heartlands, the Basin, the Valley of Nibene, the Blackwood, the Gerald Mountains, the oaks and redwoods of the Great Forest, the Westweald, the Gold Coast and the Colovian Highlands, showing us the beautiful soundscapes present in these regions. On day 2 we went off to Valenwood. On this day, the team showcased their very first implemented creature, the Rufous Mudcrab. This little critter marks an important step in bringing Valenwood to life. On day 3, we journeyed to the hidden corners of Morrowind to take a peek at those who work in the outlawed spheres of magic. With robes designed by Arzal and masks designed by Deer, the garments of the necromancers of the province and their eerie designs ordain a hierarchy only they can comprehend.
Hey, yes, you there. Got interest in this fancy Khajiit table? Some weird cat healer told me they use it for alchemy or something like that. Got it on one of the, inspections of one of the Khajiit farms. Some Bandari schmuck tried to get it off my hands today for barely any gold. I hope you have more on you, for I didn't drag this all the way up from the hills for just a few scraps. Of course, it looks weirder than the regular tables you might be used to, but hey, more exotic, more expensive, am I not right? So, do we have a deal?
For the 4th day, the Elsweyr team proudly presented the Elsweyr Alchemy Station, modelled by Sophie S. For day 5, we moved north to hear from the Roscrea team. With Roscrea's writing and town interiors largely complete, the focus in 2023 was on town implementation, finishing dungeons, and an exterior level design overhaul following a height map reset. For Roscrea's first advent post, they focused on town implementation. Along with the Tamrielic settlement of Craneshore and the Roscrean capital of Fruthul, there are many small towns and villages throughout Roscrea, pictured on screen. On day 6, Argonia presented a menagerie of creatures that make their home in the marsh. These, however, are not the fearsome predators for which Argonia is infamous, but the mostly harmless animals that occupy the lower levels of the land's food chain. Morawi are pig-like reptiles common throughout Argonia, both in the wild and as domesticated livestock. 3D by Zerg, rigging by Taki. Tiger moths can be found fluttering around the forested areas of Argonia in abundance. Their wings imitate the faces of tigers, which were once common in the Blackwood. Concept art by Stormy, 3D by Freddy AEK. Vakajat buzz and twitter around Argonia, feeding on nectar. The colourful birds are prized by Saxhleel and Dreiskin alchemists alike. 3D by Shingles Cat. Sap thief beetles are an obnoxious pest that feed exclusively upon his sap. Tree minders work tirelessly to drive them away from their his trees. Concept art by Stormy, 3D by Freddy AEK. Cholokase can be found swimming near the surface of rivers and lakes, where they shoot jets of water to knock flying insects out of the air. Concept art by Rook, 3D by Shingles Cat. Snapping turtles are unlikely to initiate a fight with a wandering adventurer, but will certainly defend itself with a nasty bite if provoked. Hermit crabs prey primarily on giant snails of Argonia, and utilize the snail's shell for its own protection. When young, they are typically blue, but eventually become red as they mature. Occasionally, a hermit crab might find itself without a snail shell of its own, revealing its unusual curled tail. Concept art by Olivia, 3D by Zerg, rigging by Fourth Unknown. On day 7, the Atmora team prepared a developer diary for us, where they show and explain what they've been up to. With a writing department hard at work, a restructured workflow, and some fantastic progress on the areas of Julkarfik and Foralgrim, Atmora is making steady progress with a focus on developing architecture for the coming year. For the 8th day, the Iliac Bay team presented concept art for the loot chests found in Hammerfell. Designed by Alexio to reflect both the ancient craftsmanship of Yakuta and the ruggedness of modern Hammerfell, these chests will be found across the many pirate strongholds and ancient ruins of Hammerfell. After every team shared some of their progress in the last 8 days, for the 9th day, Cyrodiil showed off 2 things before their grand finale in the 3rd showcase on the 17th. The wonderful composer Eric Gordon Berg has worked on his latest piece, Sirens of Solace. Here's a snippet, but you can listen to the full piece on his channel, linked in the description. Secondly, Cyrodiil's Dungeons department showed off some of their work. Although there is much to be done, dungeon design has been coming along steadily. Over the past 6 months, multiple dungeons have been completed to a stage ready for quality assurance, and many more are being finalised and locked from any more major changes. 4 such dungeons recently finished are shown here: Broken Promises Cave, an animal den near Coral; Nenyund Twill, an Ayleid ruin east of Skingrad; Frigid Delve, an ice cave north of Coral; and Grey Rock Cave, a cave containing a secret coven of vampires off the Gold Road. On the 10th day, we returned once more to Valenwood. On this day, Valenwood showcased some clutter items including bone benches, barrels, and a Dominion training dummy. All of the 3D objects were created by Ole. The training dummy was concepted by the Alinor team, and the remainder were drawn by Zebot-C. For day 11, we feasted our eyes upon a variety of new environmental assets to be found in the cold waters and dark caverns of the New North. Sponges of different shapes and colours populate the floor of the Sea of Ghosts, and though many Quama mines were abandoned following the Red Year, some of their offspring can still be found deep in those collapsing passages. All assets pictured on screen were created by Manny. For the 12th day, we went to the northeastern portion of what was once a province of Elsweyr, the Rim. The banners shown here each represent one of the houses in this intriguing area. Though perhaps the 5 high houses are the most influential and powerful ones, there are 6 lesser ones, each with their own pull and ability to push, dotted all over the lands, responsible for their own little piece of what we would call the Rim. Yet not only noble blood weaves the tapestry of politics in the city. Guilds and various state-supported branches of soldiers and enforcers have their own needs and desires. Should they be unmet, the Rim's fragile balance of power will be put into question. Rimini's Banners Part 2 and 3 done by Son of Soldier. For day 13, we ventured back to Roscrea. There were many Roscreans that sought power. They pledged their lives to old and dead kings, chasing after the shadows of the past. But Thorkel the Axe, mightiest of all of Roscrea, cared little for his fate, for prophecy, for history. Were they not the empty words of long-dead men? Some say he conquered all of Roscrea, not in the name of a rotting corpse, but for himself and his own desires. Few remember Thorkel's name, and none dare to speak of his deeds. They say he vanished, leaving behind mountains of treasure somewhere on Roscrea. On cold nights, one can still hear his thundering steps booming over the mountains and across the seas. The 2D concepts were created by Imayushi and brought to life by Hovono, who created the beautiful models. For day 14, Argonia presented Turnian Fashion Week. Their 3D team has been hard at work producing the clothing for the Cosmopolitan Turnian League, one of the major factions inhabiting Argonia in the 4th era. The League's fashion sense reflects an eclectic mix of Nibonese, Argonian, and even ancient Nedic designs, concept art by Zerg and Sigil, 3D by Mathi, Aki of the Sand, and That Drake Fella. On the 15th day, we returned north to the continent of Atmora. There, many wandered the lands, searching for power, for strength, and for might. For millennia and for seconds they searched, until they uncovered something terrible that should have stayed buried and forgotten, for it was neither good nor wholesome. In its wrath and pain, it consumed them, changed them, twisted them, and then turned them. Concept art and creature iterations of by the talented Ashulder. For the 16th day, the Iliac Bay team showed off a first look at the wave-battered tropics of the Chain. This set of tropical islands in the Abyssian are the treacherous home of pirates and necromancers alike. The worst of Abyssian society hide out in the cavernous port of Askill Cove, where a mysterious and dangerous benefactor provides refuge, for a price. For the 17th day, the Beyond Skyrim Cyrodiil team presented their final showcase for 2023. After a year of massive progress, we joined them for their developer diary, where they gave a comprehensive deep dive into the current state of Cyrodiil. The Cyrodiil team has achieved many meaningful milestones last year, and we are excited to share them. During 2023, the Cyrodiil team reached a total of 116 quests and 44 settlements fully implemented and finished the baseline writing for all cities. This video was produced with the intent to be more transparent about Cyrodiil's progress and to give you more insight into the development process. And as a part of this, the Cyrodiil team created a series of progress graphics for each city and county in Cyrodiil, all of which are linked in the description. For day 18, Valenwood presented new environmental assets. The work-in-progress teak tree, created by Dennis, is the first plant to roll off Valenwood's flora pipeline. Ole created the beautiful new ground textures as well as the Orentia Hills rock texture. The team will continue to focus on environmental assets into 2024, which will allow them to work towards level design. For the 19th day, Morrowind presented a first look at one of their Dwemer dungeons, featuring new clutter items and decor, as well as sound effects for lighting, doors and containers. The ancient abodes of the Dwemer have never been more ripe for exploration. For the 20th day, we took a look at the Elsewhere Bandit kit concept art created by Sunna Soldier.
I recall way back when my grandpa was still around, he told me of his early days serving under the Legion in the Elsewhere Confederacy. Well, when it was still a thing, that is. He would never forget to mention that the thing he hated the most were bandits. Unlike in some other places he served, Khajiit bandits weren't a cleanly cut affair. The main reason for it had to do with Khajiit culture. One old cast-out clan mother once told him that even bandits have their own patron god to keep a watch over those who choose such a path. And although Khajiit wouldn't choose banditry as their first option, they aren't exactly known for their stubborn character. The same Khajiit who one day helped you in protecting a caravan could be charging at you the next one with his own buddies. Grandpa would constantly reminisce of the struggles finding their hideouts, which were located out of sight. There were rumors that specific markings, only known to those following Bandar, would lead to those places. Very few Khajiit were ever eager to collaborate on this as to help root this problem out. I wonder how the Dominion is managing to handle them nowadays. After all, a cat can have mostly soft paws, but that's as long as it doesn't extend its sharp claws.
On the 21st day, we rode back to Roscrea for the final time. Ever since the reset of the exterior world space, Level Design has been hard at work and was proud to show you the progress made ever since then. For the 22nd day, Argonia offered a first glimpse into the ruins of the Barsebek Ayleids who dominated Western Argonia in the First Era. Though no Ayleid has walked these halls in more than 1,000 years, these ruins are far from lifeless. Their most notable residents are the Tel Buro, the once silver servants of the Ayleids. The Tel Buro are an enduring reminder of the Barsebek's mastery of flesh sculpting. These seemingly mindless servitors are nigh immortal, with their Latanya stones capable of regenerating any wound they suffer. Of course, some scholars wonder how mindless the Tel Buro actually are. A few seem to possess an uncanny inhuman intellect, far removed from any Nedic progenitor that suffered at Ayleid hands to craft them. When the night seemed longest on the 23rd day, we gazed toward Atmora for the final time. surrounded by the chill that strangles the fires of oblivion. Even your expedition gear enchanted with the words of Hrothgar will be of little use. You need to improvise, improve, conquer, or perish. The great Ranzu has been iterating and designing the heavy armor upgrade to the expedition clothes. For the 24th day of the Advent calendar, the Iliac Bay team had a double whammy of a showcase. First off was the Yoku Ruins set, with the exterior tile set officially done now thanks to the help of Mini-Me. These ruins will dot the landscape of Hammerfell and vary from vast ancient cities to small isolated tombs. Secondly, the team presented an early development look at the city of Faerûn. Far below the dazzling craftsmanship and snowy peaks of Jehanna, the cramped fishing port of Faerûn lies waiting for the player to discover. Shown here are some very early development glimpses of the main town centre of Faerûn, the largest of Three Kingdoms cities. There's a lot to be discovered here, such as the gated Upper Gardens district and the squalid, decaying fishing wharf. There's a lot of work left to do on the city still, from finishing up the buildings and making their finished textures to creating unique 3D sets and clutter for the city walls, fences, ledges and fishery clutter. For the last day of our 2023 Advent calendar, we had our latest overhead map to showcase. A higher resolution version of the overhead map can be found on our Beyond Skyrim Flickr account, linked in the description, but be warned that not all computers will take kindly to loading it. Thanks to Jonah Hex and Waffle for their work on this overhead map. This concludes our look at the 2023 Beyond Skyrim Advent calendar. We hope you enjoyed, and if you have any skills to aid any of our provinces, you can find which teams are looking for which talents on our website, linked in the description. If you wish to learn skills relevant to Skyrim modding, we encourage you to check out the Arcane University, a free online learning community with amazing instructors who are there to help you through every step of the learning process. We would love to be able to make more frequent showcases and progress updates for all of you. For that, we will require more help from people who have experience writing video scripts as well as skilled video editors. If you want to help out, you can also apply at beyondskyrim.org/join or talk to us on the Beyond Skyrim community Discord server, which is linked in the description below. Thank you all for watching.